Welcome back, guys. In the last video I started showing you how you can use CSS inside an HTML document. So we took a look at the first approach, which is inline style, where you apply the style directly on a particular on a particular HTML element. Now, while that approach works, we immediately saw a limitation with that approach, which is the fact that um, we are applying the styles directly on that element. So what it means is, if we are to apply a lot of styles, our files can quickly become messy. It can become unreadable. So imagine we keep on going on and on and on like this and adding more declarations. Now that's one. Um, but I think a more important one to note is the fact that imagine we had another paragraph here. Imagine we had another paragraph here, and we wanted it to inherit the same style. So what it means is we would need to copy over the same style we've applied to the first paragraph over to the second paragraph. Or I mean that's easy. So what if we wanted the second paragraph to have a different style? We're going to have to start changing things up and all that. So it becomes very difficult to style multiple elements with the same style. So you have to just copy over the same style over and over again. So what if there was a way to select all the elements you want to group together and apply a particular style to, and then put that style apply that style to it just once without having to do it over and over again? Now, in programming generally, one principle you should note is something called the dry principle. It means don't repeat yourself. So whenever you are coding and then you find yourself doing the same thing more than once, I mean doing the same thing in two places or three places, or just doing the same thing in multiple places, it means you're doing something wrong. So you figure out a way to do it once and reuse it in any other place that you need to use it. So this is one of the basic principles of good coding practice. Okay, so what we are going to do, we are going to look at another approach that will not involve us writing this inside directly inside the element. But it's good to note that this is an approach you can use. I mean, there are times when it's needed, right? There are times when it's needed, so it's good you know it. Now what we are going to do is to cut this out. So we're going to look at the next approach to styling, and that is the embedded CSS. So the way embedded CSS works is you're going to come into the head element, inside the head element, and then you're going to put a style tag, right? Just like this. And then inside the style tag, you start having CSS declarations. Now remember, when we applied inline style, we added a style attribute inside the element that we want to style. When we want to do embedded style, you have something called style tag, right? Just like any other tag, but it can house all your styles that will apply to that HTML document. So let's see. Okay, so we're gonna change this up a bit. So the way this works is you're gonna put this selector. Now there are different kinds of selector. Maybe in the next video we're gonna go over the different kinds of selector we have. But for now, we're gonna pretend we already know a kind of selector called tag selector. So use the name of the tag. Since you want to style a paragraph tag, so just put P, and then we put a curly bracket, and then we apply our style. So first of all, excuse me, I'm going to save this. Okay, so what I want to do is to give this paragraph a color of we used red earlier, so maybe we should use green this time around so that there was a change, right? So we'll save this, and then Yeah, so save it and then we run it, and then you see I'll bring this out so it can be on its own. Excuse me. Okay, so you have a green color, right? So now if I change the background color, then I can change the background color to red. Now if I don't want to do all the typing, I can just say BGC. It gives me background color. I select it, and then I say red, and then I save. Then I get a background color of red, right? Doesn't look good, but it works. Now let's make this black. Okay, you see. So you can see that you can keep on adding attributes, and then you select you kind of demarcate it with semicolon. Something else you can definitely do is to make each attribute span multiple lines, so you can have it more readable like this. And then you come down here and you add another one. So let's say you want to make the font size bigger. Let's make the font size 40 pixels. That's pixels. Then we'll save it. Okay, it's a lot bigger now. Okay, so that's how you do inline, or that's how you do embedded style. Sorry, that's how you do embedded style. Now so if you have another paragraph here, so let's say paragraph, and then so you say looks good. Now see what happens. The paragraph inherits the same style. You didn't have to write this CSS rule multiple times. Every paragraph you put on this document inherits the same style, and that is because you are using the tag selector, right? So what you are saying is apply this style to all the paragraphs in this document. That's exactly what's going on. Now, what happens if you want the second paragraph to have a different style, right? So then you may consider doing something else. You may want to use a specific kind of type of selectors that are more specific. So something you can do, you can use something called ID attribute. So ID attribute. So what you have to do is give one paragraph an attribute, an ID attribute of whatever. So just call it first. Okay, so this is the first paragraph. So now instead of using the tag selector, you can just use an ID selector. And the way ID selectors work is you start with a number sign, that's the hash sign, and then you put the name of the attributes, right? The name of the ID, sorry, which is first, and then you save it. The moment you do this, only the elements with an ID of first will inherit this style rule. So let's check that out. So you see, so our first paragraph, hello CSS, has this style while the second does not. All right, so there's another kind of attribute that is particularly helpful in this case, and that is the class attribute. Now first, let me explain something about class attributes. Now when you want to style multiple elements together, when you want to group multiple elements together and apply the same style to them, you use the class attributes. So think of the word class. So you put them together in the same class, and when you style that class, all the elements that belongs to that class, that has that class attribute, will inherit it. So what it means is, if I wanted to style these two paragraphs together, so let's say we have a third paragraph, right? And then let me just say a third one. Okay, so a third one. So what it means is we now have three paragraphs. Let's say we want to style two. We want two to have this style. So what we can do is we can use class attribute instead. So have class, and let's say um, the class could be anything. So let's just say style it, call it styled. So you're gonna name all the paragraphs you want to style, give it the same name. Okay, so you can do that, and then we have to change this. Now when you want to style a class, instead of using number sign, you use a period and then followed by the name of the class, just like this. I usually like to copy the name of the class so that I don't make an error by trying to type it, because the moment you make an error, it's not going to work. So this and this must be exactly the same. So you see, I have the two paragraphs that has the class of styled, inherit those styles, and while the third one doesn't have the style. I hope this makes sense. So now, how do you know when to use ID attribute and class attribute? You use ID attribute when you want to apply that style to a particular element. Now, as a rule, two elements in HTML cannot have the same attribute, cannot have the same ID attribute. So ID is unique, while class can be used when you want to style multiple elements, when you want to apply the same style to multiple elements. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so that's it. In the next video, I'm going to show you how you can the third approach to style it. Now, I mean, yeah, let's cut this here. It's getting large already. So I'll see you guys in the next video.